so once you sign up for the Tailwind app, you actually get 30 days of free trial, and then it becomes a paid platform. But I'm telling you, it's absolutely worth it. It's going to save you time. It's going to give you extra data, as we talked about, and access to certain features like the smart loops and the tribes and all that. And once you're here in the platform, it can seem a little bit overwhelming because there's so much going on, so many buttons, but it's actually pretty straightforward after you get used to it. So you can see your weekly summary here, tribes, publisher, and insights. I'm usually only going to the insights, seeing the profile performance, board insights, and pin inspector. And Tailwind is going to give you a bunch of different data for you to improve your account. For certain things, certain features, you have to upgrade it to Plus. And I will actually, this is my free trial just for this account because I wanted to show you guys what it looks like as soon as you sign up. So for example, you don't really have access to insights on repins or the virality score or engagement score, but as soon as you upgrade it to Plus, you will. But what I really want to show you guys is actually how to use the app to create and schedule your pins, which would be here under Publisher. There you go. Right now I haven't scheduled anything. I'm going to do everything from scratch with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Drafts so we can create one. And then, again, it might seem a little bit overwhelming, but I'm going to break it down to you guys. So over here, there's your suggestions. So Tailwind will suggest content for you to repin to your own account. And as I mentioned before, see, it shows you the popularity of the pin with the amount of saves that each pin has, which is not something that Pinterest shows it to us. So if you're interested in any of these suggestions, you could easily type a board name here. So for example, travel photography, and add it to queue. And I'm going to show you guys everything that happens once you add it to queue. You even could add multiple boards, but we're going to go do that soon. Right now, I'm not interested in saving this specific pin. You can also scroll down and ask for more suggestions, and it's going to keep updating it for you. But also on here on this side, you'll be able to see the suggested times that Tailwind gives you for you to actually pin your content. And we do need to take into consideration what I told you before, that we want to be intentional about the first 5 pins of the day, starting on 12 a.m. UTC time. But here I can easily adapt it with their suggested times, and the suggested times are based on our audience. For now, what times are our audience most likely to be active and they actually are looking for new content and repinning. So for example, for me, it was 9 p.m. was the first one. So I could go ahead and schedule the first pin, for example, to go at 10:04. And that would be my first pin. The second one could be maybe 10:50, 11:50, or I could do a few pins at the same time actually. And this way I know which pins are first, what are the first 5 pins, and then I can follow these suggested times based on different times of the week actually. And there you go. It gives you the exact date and what time of that day you could be adding a new pin. So with that being said, let's just create our own pin first from Tailwind. And the way you do that, let me move myself back, is by clicking on Create New Pin, and then upload images, and then click on Brazil Travel Florianopolis, and then just wait for it to load. Okay, so after it loads, it's gonna go ahead and create the draft for us, and then what we need to do is type the board name. So Brazil Travel. And as you can see, it's not showing up because it's a more recently created board. So you can just click on this button, refresh boards list. And there you go. So Brazil Travel, I'm going to go ahead and click. And I'm going to go ahead and schedule 2 for Brazil Travel destination. Now I'm going to enter a pin title. All right, so I went ahead and filled in the title and used all of those keywords that I wanted to. Brazil Travel, Explore Florianopolis, Explore Florianopolis Island, a beautiful travel destination in Brazil. So it's filled with keywords, but especially the main keyword that I have, which is Brazil Travel. And I also went ahead and filled out our description with tons of keywords, broad keywords, narrow keywords, and including keywords that are showing on the destination link. And I'm actually going to go ahead and add another, there you go, another board. And then once we scroll down, I'm going to enter the source URL. So let me go to our Joaquina Sand Dunes, which is where that photo was taken, and then copy the URL to be the destination URL. And then I'm going to enter here. And then you want to click on use interval, because again, we selected 3 different boards. So we definitely want to be selecting these intervals. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose the first date. So I actually want to pin this tomorrow. So I'm going to do Sunday, and I can get a suggestion here. So I'm going to do this at 10:20 p.m. or 9:56 p.m., which is the beginning of the Pinterest day. So Sunday at 9:56, there we go, done. then now I'm gonna choose the interval. So see it right here, the 2 days, it's in red. It's because it's not really suggested. So I'm gonna choose 5 days. You can even choose up to the hour, but I'm gonna choose 5 days interval and then set interval. And now it's easy. You can just click on schedule. And then I didn't go to the smart loops or tribes yet. That's something that you can add that on your own later on. As we create more and more pins, I'm going to set this up because like I said, you only want to do smart loops after 4 or 6 months that you've pinned your first pin. So I'm definitely going to be coming back to Tailwind and scheduling those smart loops as our accounts get a little bit older and with a little bit more time. But anyways, as we can see here, our pins are now scheduled. It's showing here under the schedule tab, 3 pins. So the one for Brazil travel destinations and travel vlogs. And the reason why this one is purple is because it is set to a secret board, if you remember. So what we can do is that we can go back to our board. We can go ahead and save that first pin, that board cover, and make it non-secret, actually public, and then there will be no problem. But it would still post it, even if we didn't do that, it would still post it to our board, even though it's secret. It's just no one would be able to see it because it's a secret board. So we definitely want to do that, make it public before we go ahead and actually post anything in it. And then if we go to the next tab, here we could create the smart loops here, but like I told you guys, we're not going to do that now. And then we could also see all of our published pins here, but right now there's not going to be anything because it's only from Tailwind, everything we posted from Tailwind. We could search for something specifically by its title, a category, or all that, or we can search by date too. But again, it's not going to show anything because we haven't posted anything yet with Tailwind. But then you could easily, once you actually find a pin here, reschedule the pin, add it to Smart Loop, or even find similar content. Which again, it's great because it's going to find related content to your niche so that you can be repinning relevant content, keeping your boards up to date and your audience engaged. And then you could also use Tailwind to pin from Instagram. So if you connect to your Instagram account, it will give you all of the options with the captions of all of your Instagram photos. I'm not going to go ahead and do that because I've already enabled Pinterest to automatically post all of my Instagram posts straight to that Instagram board that I've created. And if I didn't show that to you guys because I can't fully remember, the way you do is that you go to your profile and then edit profile, and then under claiming your accounts, you can, let me move myself out of the way, you can claim your Instagram account here, and then it's going to give you an option to automatically enable posting from your Instagram account straight to a specific board of your choice. And that's why we have created the Sumner and Alley Instagram board, so it would go straight there and people know it's going to be all of our Instagram posts. But going back to our Tailwind app, I actually want to schedule a post from a different account. So let's go back to Publisher and then Drafts. And I'm going to move myself out of the way here again. But now I want to show you guys how to post a content from a different content creator. So there you go. Let's do this one. It's from the Blonde Abroad, the same person who I pinned before about Brazil. And it's as simple as typing in the board name here. It's the Ultimate Guide to Rio in a Weekend. So I'm just going to go ahead and type Brazil Travel and Brazil Travel Destinations. And then again, I'm going to use interval. And I'm going to pin this one. I'm going to start on the 29th. And let's look at some of the times that it's being suggested. So 9:39, 10:27. I'm going to do 10:27 so that for 9:39, the first pin of Pinterest day, I'm actually going to be creating an original piece of content. So let's do 10:27. 10. And again, I'm going to use the 5 days interval, and then I'm going to click on set interval, and there you go. And again, it's purple because it's still a secret board, but then all you need to do is again click on schedule, and there you go, it's scheduled. And you can see that it's being added here to your schedule tab. You can also, if you're not ready, if you have the pin created but you're not ready to schedule it yet, you could create it and save it as a draft, and then you could come back here to Tailwind and then add all of the description and hashtags and all that, so you could then schedule. And you can see, which is great because Tailwind already adds all of the pins that are scheduled here, and it even shows you a little thumbnail so you can see what types of content you are scheduling. So yes, this is an overview of the Tailwind app. There's still a lot more features that it would get super boring for me to share all about this here, but you're welcome to leave any questions you have below. And there's also tons of tutorials online about Tailwind app. It's constantly updating too, and they're constantly offering new features, which is awesome. But I hope you guys like this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. This again is the best way that I found to not have to spend hours and hours every day on Pinterest, to schedule our pins and actually be active on Pinterest every day. It's a great and organized way for you to know what types of content you're pinning. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the next video. Now let's talk about Pinterest analytics and why is it important. So usually when we're talking about analytics, we're talking about data and anything that we can gather from our audience, from our own pins, what is really working and what is not working based on what metric. And to talk about metrics, let's first talk about vanity metrics. I've kind of hinted at this throughout the course already, but there are a few numbers that I believe that are not that important. They are somewhat important, yes. But these, in my opinion, are not as important because they don't directly reflect traffic driven to your website, which is what we want. That's what our end goal is. So when we're talking about monthly viewers, impressions, or followers, these numbers usually account, especially monthly viewers and impressions, they usually account for any pins that you have saved to your boards at all. So not only your original content, but any other pins from other content creators. So sometimes you pin really popular pins and you get all these viewers, all these impressions, and sometimes you don't get any link clicks, or you barely get any traffic to your website. And that's why it's because these numbers actually reflect activity in all of your account, including all types of pins that you have pinned, including not your own. And usually too, these numbers are accounting for a period of time, probably the last 30 days, for example, with the monthly viewers. So a lot of times you have very successful pins 31 days ago, like you had a really viral pin of your own, but then it's not actually reflected so much on that number. And followers, in my opinion, are also a little bit of a vanity metric because it doesn't necessarily talk about how successful you're bringing people to your website. Obviously, if you have a lot of followers, you do have a bigger audience that will absolutely be seeing your pin, so that's great. That's one step closer to what we want. But a lot of people could have thousands of followers and they're just repinning. They're not really putting a lot of original content there, and then therefore not a lot of people are going to your website and then reflecting on actual sales or subscribers or whatever your goal is. Not to mention, sometimes you can have 0 followers and still be successful on Pinterest. Because again, Pinterest will help you show your pins to an audience that is interested in that topic. And if you optimize your pins well, you will be showing up to whoever are typing those search terms that you're using, the keywords that you're using. And if you use Pinterest advertising, you don't need any followers to get visibility at all. So again, that's why this is another vanity metric in my opinion. So then what are metrics that actually matter? What's actually important, as you could imagine, are link clicks and engagement. So link clicks, in my opinion, are the most important numbers that you are looking for because that means someone saw your pin from their home feed or from their following tab, they opened it and they clicked on it and they went to your website and they saw everything that you had to offer, or whether it was your content or more about the product that you pinned about. And engagement is also important. In my opinion, link clicks are more important, obviously, because that's the end goal. Well, the end goal is the next step after someone gets to your website, but that's what Pinterest would do for you, is actually get someone to your website. So that's definitely a successful metric, is link clicks. Engagement's also helpful because Pinterest really looks at engagement in order to determine your distribution, and you could get your pin in front of even more people, even people that don't follow you, because of engagement. So with that being said, I'm actually going to show you guys 3 Pinterest analytics methods that we can use to gather as much information as we can, and then we can apply to future pins, see what's working, see what's not, see how we can optimize and be even more successful on Pinterest and achieve our end goal. The best way to know what you have been doing that's brought the most results with your Pinterest account is by using Pinterest analytics. And Pinterest has been updating this a lot. They've been really investing on giving really helpful data. So I'm super excited to go over this with you. And right now we're using one of our clients' accounts, so a few things are going to be covered or blurred, but I'm still going to be able to show you everything that you need to know to apply to your own case. So to get to this page right here, you just need to go to analytics and click on overview. And I'm just going to start by going through this left side menu right here because that's the filter, and then we're actually going to see the results. So just to cover everything, on the left hand side you can see obviously the date range, so you can make sure that you're analyzing the specific date range that you want. It could be just the last 24 hours or last 7 days, 14, 21, 30, 60, 90. Those are the quick ones that you just click. Or you can do your own custom date range. Click here, select the first day and last day, and see the results. This can be very insightful, not only if you've had like bigger sales, if you've had influencer collaborations or anything like that, to maybe you can see certain spikes and understand better what performed well or how much traffic that really brought into your account. Maybe you want to repeat, maybe you want to do other sales. And it's very helpful to understand too maybe certain seasonality of pins, maybe certain kinds of content perform really well during certain times of year or time of week or time of the month, and different from other types of content. So very important. I'm going to leave here as the last 60 days. And then if we keep going, you can also filter by content type. So right now it's for all, but you could filter by just your organic pins or just your paid pins, the ones that you've chose to promote with Pinterest ads. If we keep scrolling down, there's also product group, and that is when you create your catalog. As you know, you can create product groups, so you could filter by specific product groups. You can also filter by claimed accounts. So right now you can see all pins. You can also see, depending on the domain, if you have several domains that you have claimed, pins that are from those specific URLs, you can see the insights from specific ones. And if you have an older account and you had claimed when Pinterest offered that, when they offer for you to claim your Etsy shop, your Instagram account, and YouTube channel, if you had claimed those, you can still see here on analytics the results for those specific accounts. So that's really helpful. And you can also filter by device. So you may start seeing that certain types of content perform better for users that are using mobile versus desktop or tablet. For example, idea pins tend to perform better on mobile, which is the majority of Pinterest users. So you definitely want to play with everything to really understand what works best for you and the type of content that you want to create. And you can also filter by age, gender, and the source. So if it's your own pins, so fresh pins that you have created, or pins that you have saved from other content creators and you save them to your own boards. So that's the filter. Let's go back up. First of all, you can select by the format of your pin or the pin type. You could see the analytics for all pins, for just standard pins, for product pins, idea pins, and video pins. So if you want specific information about that, it's going to be everything below. It's going to be the same, but the numbers is going to be specific for these different types of pins. So very helpful. Next, you can see your overall performance. So the overall numbers based on this date range for the following metrics: impressions, engagements, total audience, and engaged audience. And if there's any term that you don't know what it means, you can just hover over the little eye information icon and it's going to pop up and you're going to see what are impressions, the number of times your pins were on screen. So it obviously they can really track people's eyeballs to see if someone actually saw them and paid attention to it. But if it showed up to someone at any point, then it's the number of impressions. That shows how well it's ranking as well, how relevant. Also engagement, for example, the total number of engagements on your pins, including clicks and saves. So if someone opened, that's a click, that's an engagement. If someone saved, that's engagement as well. Same thing with total audience and engaged audience. You can see all of the description to understand better. Next, you can see your best pins, your top boards. So which boards have been performing best overall, as well as your top pins, which pins have been performed best overall. But you can see that again below, so we're going to keep going. Next, they have the sneak peek of conversion insights, which is very new, based on accounts that have the ability for people to actually purchase through Pinterest. So they can track how many page visits you've had, how many checkouts, but you do need to have it installed, the Pinterest tag and all of that, for that to be tracked. Next, we have the performance over time. So because you've selected the last 2 months, you're going to see the beginning of that 2 months and then the end, and you can see specific numbers as well. And then here you can select your metric. This is what I like the most. You can select your metric, so impressions. We've already talked about before that impressions are a little bit of a vanity metric. In my opinion, it doesn't really matter how many times someone saw your pin if they never clicked, if they never went to your website. So you definitely want to be looking more for those pin clicks and those outbound clicks. But there's all of these other metrics as well. How many times people have saved, because maybe they're planning future purchases, but they are not clicking it yet. So that's relevant as well. Engagement rate, all of this. And you can do many of them. You can click on this little plus and do another one so you can see the comparison. Maybe you had a lot of impressions, but let's do now pin clicks. So right here, for example, we can see it was a really good day. August 4th, we had a lot of pin clicks. Obviously, it usually does follow like pin clicks and impressions. It makes sense. People need to see it in order to actually click on it. So you can have multiple metrics. And if you only have one, you can use a split. So for example, here you can have impressions and then split by content type. So organic, doesn't do so well in terms of impressions, but paid and earned, the promoted pins do really well. You can see that comparison. Or let's say format. So you have product pins are performing the best in terms of impressions. Then you have standard idea pins. Sometimes you have a spike here, and video pins. So super, super helpful to have the ability to compare all of these metrics. And if we keep scrolling down, we can see our top product groups, because we do have that catalog base, and then you can sort by outbound clicks or all of those metrics as well. And maybe you want to revamp your product groups. Maybe you want to create new ones based on the information that you're getting from these analytics. And last, if we keep scrolling down, we're gonna have our top pins. This is one of my favorites because you can see in terms of graphics what has been working the best to really catch people's attention. You can see the exact pin, you can see obviously the title, the type, if it's organic or paid or both, because for you to actually promote a pin, they need to be a standard pin first, and the total engagement. So you can really compare everything. So for example, the best performing pin, it's just a lifestyle image. So maybe I want to be creating more of those lifestyle images and test out to see if those perform really well as well. The next best performing pin gives the price of the product. So maybe that's something that I want to start including more on my pins. It shows a lifestyle as well as details about the product, both. So definitely analyze the top pins and especially what they have in common for you to see what's resonating best with your audience. And last but not least, you can analyze your top boards. In my opinion, the top boards are not as important because most people are going to be seeing your pins on their home feed where everything is mixed together. But it's interesting to know in terms of interests in general, if you have organized your boards in a way that has to do with interests. For example, Europe travel destinations versus South America travel destinations, and Europe performs a lot better. That can give you insight to that's maybe your audience wants to see more of that, and you create more pins for Europe destinations. And last but not least, you can export all of this data after you filtered everything the way that you want it. You just click on export, and Pinterest is going to give you the CSV file, so you can have that for your records. You can use it however you want, if you want to develop new databases or anything like that. So I do hope you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, be sure to leave those in the Q&A below, and let's go ahead and get to the next video. Pinterest analytics method number 2 is the analytics that we're going to get from Tailwind. So let's go ahead and jump into the app. Here from the dashboard, you can just go on the side menu and then click on Insights, and then I'm going to click on Profile Performance. So Tailwind is going to give you insights from your profile overall, from your boards, and from your pins. And if you have your domain linked to your account as well, it's going to give you extra analytics. And the way you would access it, it would be here on Website Insights. But going back here to the profile performance, they're going to give you an overview of how your profile is doing. And obviously this is a new account, but in general, with whatever account we have or we're managing for a client, I honestly don't worry too much about the numbers or like the rate of growth personally, as long as it is going toward a positive direction. If I start seeing red numbers for a while, then I'm actually going to dive deep into the insights and analytics and try to understand why that's happening and how I can fix it on our Pinterest account. So you can see here the number of followers on the past 7 days, and then you can choose the date range here if you have the plus plan. But if not, then it's going to default to the last 7 days. And then the same thing with pins. And then if you have the plus account, then you would see the amount of repins, how many people are actually repinning your content, and then comments as well. And then if we scroll down here, you would see that you would get a virality score, an engagement score, and an engagement rate. And this, I would say, that is one of the most important pieces of information from the insights. And unfortunately, you only get this if you pay for the plus account. Basically what it is that Tailwind analyzes how many of your pins that you've pinned have actually gotten a good amount of repins. So how many of them have actually gone viral and are getting very popular on Pinterest. So they divide total of repins over total of pins. So then you get that score. So with engagement score, they actually get the virality score and divide by the number of followers they have. Because if you have a good number of repins, let's say you have 100 repins on a specific board, but you have hundreds of thousands of followers, then that rate is actually not that great. You probably want to get more of your followers to be repinning and then increase this engagement score as well. And then the engagement rate, in my opinion, is the most important. You want to get that as high as possible, but that measures how many of your pins have at least one repin. So that would mean that you don't have a lot of pins that no one's interested in, and that's going to tell Pinterest that you're putting content out there that people are actually interested in saving and clicking, and that's going to make them actually distribute your content even more. So a couple of quick actions that you can get from these numbers is that, for example, with engagement rate, If you see that there are certain pins that have no pins at all, maybe you move them to a secret board, because secret boards don't count toward your analytics. They're just more personal boards. Some people delete the pins, but as I've researched and heard what people in the industry have said, it doesn't really help you deleting a pin or deleting a board much. So what I usually do is that I would just move that pin to a secret board, and then that's going to stop counting toward the overall engagement rate of your whole account. And then if we go up here, we can see more specifically boards insights. And then here again, you don't get as many features as if you had the Plus account. We do have the Plus account with some of our other clients, but you do get with the free trial, you understand the overall pins from each board and then the number of followers of each board. But then if you do have the Plus account, repins would be a great metric for you to analyze, because again, that would affect the engagement rate, which is, in my opinion, one of the biggest metrics that we want to actually pay attention to. And then also virality score, again, based on boards, and we can analyze, just like we talked about the profile performance in general, we can analyze how we're doing based on each board, which is great because we know exactly what types of pins are in that specific board and how we can emulate that into different boards, or how we can produce even more content like that, the ones that are resonating the best. And then lastly, there's the pin inspection that goes even deeper and looks at the analytics of every single pin and what are the most popular. So it would show here to which board that pin is, because as we know, we pin the same pin to multiple boards, and sometimes they do very well in one board but not that well on another board. So over here we'll tell you exactly which board that specific pin is pinned to, and then we'll tell you the number of pins and comments, and then from here you could actually go ahead and reschedule the pin if you see that it's successful, and then you can also find similar content here. Time to move myself out of the way. You can find similar content to this to give to your audience other people's content that you know they're liking, that you know it's resonating well with them. So from here you can go ahead and reschedule. You can also change here from the date, and you can sort here from date pin or from the amount of contents and repins and all that. And then here, if you had your website linked to your account, then you can click here on this button and then see all of the different insights coming from your website. So that's super helpful for you to understand how well other people are interested in pinning things straight from your website, from your store, from your blog, and then you can see how well specific pins or specific blog posts or products are doing straight from your website, because sometimes it's not necessarily the same what resonates well from the pins you're creating within Pinterest than the content you actually have on your website. So that's an overview of Tailwind Analytics and Insights. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the Q&A section of the course, and let's go ahead and get to the next video. Alright, and for our last method, we're actually going to be looking at Google Analytics. And not everyone will have access to it because you need to have the Google code on your website to be able to track all this. So if you haven't done this yet, be sure to do that, and then after a while you'll be able to read all of the analytics from your website. Us, for example, we don't have a website yet, we just have our travel vlog on YouTube, but I'm going to be showing you just a quick overview of how you can get insights from it using actually one of Sumner's old client's account, just as a quick example. So after you log into Google Analytics, here's the homepage, and then you can see overall the number of users and sessions, bounce rates, which is determining if people are going to multiple pages or just staying in one page, and then session duration, so how long people, when they get to your website, how long do they usually stay. And that's very useful, and you should definitely look into that to improve anything on your website itself. But what I want to show you guys is mostly here. How do you acquire users? And that's when you're going to be able to see how many of your users are coming from Pinterest itself. So traffic channel, a lot of times Google will actually put all of your Pinterest traffic under referral. So it would be this third color over here, but we can go even deeper and click on referrals. And it would show as one of these options here. For this account, they don't have any Pinterest account linked to it, but it would show, for example, let's say the lighter color here is what Pinterest would be. So you would see over a period of time, over the last 7 days, or you can go even further, like 90 days, or even other time ranges that you can customize. But 90 days, for example, we can see we had a huge spike specifically from this referral traffic source. But it's great to see, especially over time, how well you're bringing people from Pinterest straight to your website. And this is usually what you would find would be under your traffic channels and then referrals. And then another thing I wanted to quickly show you guys, there's a lot of good information here on Google, like user retention and active users and all that, which is great for you to optimize your website. But in terms of Pinterest and how we can use this analytics to improve our Pinterest account, I like looking at users by time of day. So when are users most active in your website? What I like to do is actually cross-referencing this time of day with what Tailwind gives us to see what times they're most engaged and then what times they should actually be pinning. So people who you know are interested in, at least in your website, that type of content or that product, that business, if they are on Pinterest, they would see your pin and most likely also go to your website. So you can drive up your link clicks. And then also I like going down here and seeing what pages do your users visit. That can actually help you figure out more content to create, like what pages of your website are people most interested in. I mean, obviously, most likely will be the home page is the most visited because that's where you start, especially when you go organically. But if there are other pages that are popular, you can see, for example, if it's a specific product or if it's a blog post and you only have maybe one pin directing to that blog post, you then know that it is a page that people like to visit when they're on your website. So then you create more pins and more content around that page. So that's super helpful. And again, there's a lot of other insights from Google Analytics. You can go deeper and you can look at tons of tutorials online too. But I just wanted to give you an overview and tell you how you can use it to actually improve your Pinterest account, increase your success. And I hope you guys liked this video. I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions at all, be sure to leave those in the Q&A section of the course. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the next video.